Okay, I think that's a nice camera angle. Yeah, we're going to say something before starting, but I don't remember. Anyway, so, have you ever wondered why your accent doesn't quite sound like a native? Not necessarily in English, but in the language that you're learning. Have you ever wondered why? Let's put English actually as an example. Have you ever wondered why do you always sound like this? Actually, let me do that a little bit better. Para esto primero voy a decir una cosita en español, luego voy a hacer así como que una transición seamless into English para que puedan ver how do I start to speak in English. Why do you still speak like this? Why don't you sound like a native? Suppongo che se comincio a parlare pure in italiano, try to imitate an Italian accent. Allora, se comincio a parlare come italiano, e perché si dice così e non con sa? Cosa dicono gli italiani? Ma che peccato, ma questo mangione di ananas, ma sgomento che ti piace anche uccidere gente, come ti permetti di mangiare ananas? And then if I start to speak in English, I will probably start to speak like this. It's actually kind of funny. And what else can we do? Alors, si je commence à parler en français, mon français c'est pas très bon, c'est pas parfait, mais si je parle en français, et alors je commence à parler en anglais, alors je vais parler comme ça. I'm going to speak like this, like a French person, something like this. I don't know. And we can keep going. So what's the matter? Why can't I sound like native? Okay. Well, there are actually a few things that we should consider here. Number one, especially with Romance languages, you see the same alphabet and you think that the sounds are the same. And in some cases this is true, but for most cases it is not. When speaking in English, we're putting it as an example. So we see, for example, I'm going to speak from the perspective of a native Spanish speaker. So we have the 5 vowels A, E, I, O, U, which in Spanish are A, E, I, O, U, which in English won't necessarily be exactly like that. So if I say, for example, cat, it's not cat. The vowel is not the same as cat. I would say it like that. Maybe it's slightly different for a true native speaker, but I would say cat, man, I don't know, just literally any word, like bottle. It's not bottle, like I don't use my Spanish O. It's kind of its own thing. It has many vowel sounds, and I'm not actively thinking, oh, which vowel sounds should I use? It just comes out naturally. So bottle, o, something like that. It's not the same o as o. It's not the same. So sounds are not the same. Also, consonant sounds are oftentimes not the same. And maybe with very deep study, even those that are allegedly the same are not like 100% the same. So yeah, that's also another thing. Like R, if I say I can't pronounce my R's, like as if I was speaking in Spanish, it would be r. When in English it is more like r. So weird thing. And in French it's r. So they're not quite the same. So if I so what normally happens is I take the sounds from my language and I take them into my target language, but they may not be the same. Maybe not even one of them, depending on the language. Number 2, we have a different melody. Once you've nailed the pronunciation, well, there are different melodies. Melody, as I like to call it, is not going to be the same in Texas, and California, and Boston, in the UK. So this is going to be kind of hard to explain. Entonces yo voy a hablar como normalmente yo hablaría, así con mi acento mexicano central. I'm going to speak with my normal melody, like Central Mexico melody, with an American pronunciation, which is kind of hard for me, kind of crazy, because I kind of have those two paired in my mind. I don't really have them like a separate thing. But yeah, you can notice the change of melody, hopefully. I kind of start to sound more Mexican, even though the pronunciation is as American as I can possibly make it. Yeah. Yeah. Oof, that took some mental effort. Um, Alright, gonna speak English like some people that speak English like this, really cool English. I don't know, I don't think I can imitate all that many accents. I've been told my American accent is kind of neutral, and I like it. And of course, I'm gonna have traces of my accent that's not intentional, but they are there. Um, so that's the second thing that you may be lacking is paying attention, being used to that melody, so you can imitate it. If, of course, sound like a native is within your objectives. But it is always cool to know why you are or aren't sounding like a native. Another thing for those of you that may have been observing, when I started this video, yes, I do have ADHD, and yes, I do have to think about what I'm going to say. But I also did this one time on purpose at the beginning of the video, where I said, so what is that? Why am I saying on purpose? It sounds like I'm just thinking, right? And you may have also noticed that when I was trying to nail that French accent, even though I know it's not perfect, I was trying to do this. Because this is how like French people speak, and when they are thinking, they're making this sound, something like that, right? Why? Why do I do this? And actually, as an English teacher, as a language teacher, this is something that I teach my students when they want to improve their pronunciation. So our tongues, when we are not speaking, are in a resting place, and they're just not moving. They are there. It's a specific position, right? Now, this position will not be the same for a Spanish speaker, for an American English speaker, for a French speaker, and so on. And when we're thinking, actually, the sound that we make when we're thinking in Spanish, it is in English, it is something like something like that. When we're doing this, our tongue is in that resting place, same place where the same position that it is at when we are not speaking. And this is an exercise I actually tell my students, and I do it once in a while because it helps me just get a little extra bit if I feel like I need it. Just to sound more like a native, more naturally, and yeah. So I do this, and when I feel like I'm struggling, like maybe I'm not sounding quite as relaxed or as native as I would like to, I just go back to the principles and say, because if you can get your tongue in that resting place, it is going to flow more naturally with less effort. Now, this is not the only thing. As I said, there are other things that you need to take into account. Consonant sounds are not the same. Vowel sounds are not the same. Melody is not the same. Those are like the three main things. And there are people who do this a lot more in depth. People who make videos on exactly how to pronounce an American R or British R, which apparently are not the same. Exactly what exercises could you do that could help you to nail that Spanish R, like the vowel R. There are all sorts of cool things. People who break it down, the things you need to do with your throat, with your lips, with your tongue, with your palate, everything, step by step. So that's really cool. But once you know the three fundamentals, basically, I guess there are more things that we could say about pronunciation and accent. Once you nail the three fundamentals, it's very easy from there. So sounds are not the same. you cannot treat your target language as if it was your native language, which is what we naturally do. Because we're not thinking, oh, they have different sounds. We were thinking, oh, they're speaking. Yes, but they're speaking differently. So we never actually stop to think, oh, there can be more to speaking than what I know. And we use it with the resources we already have. So vowel sounds, consonant sounds may not be the same, and they may have sounds that you don't have in your native language. Melody is not the same. Like, ¿cuál es mi melodía si yo hablo español? Algo así. So, what is my melody if I speak Spanish? Something like this. But if I try to speak English, I don't know. Maybe the melody is sort of similar between Spanish from Mexico and USA, but it's not exactly the same. And I'm always going to have traces of my original melody, of my original sound. I don't want to say it is impossible to get rid of those, but there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of traces of your native accents. And number 3, time to resting place. This is a golden tip. It's a very simple trick, and you can all do it. You have to research what sound, basically, do people make when they're thinking in the language that you want to learn. Once I heard the Chinese one, I was told that was something I don't remember, but it was different from the ones I've heard. The one for Spanish is the one for English is something like the one for French. The one I heard is something like so try to nail this. Sorry, I'm set to French now. So try to nail this, and those 3 tips. Well, 2 of them are fundamentals, and the third one is also kind of a fundamental, but it also comes with a cool tip to nail it. If you have those 3 things, your accent, your pronunciation can improve a whole lot. And I will add an extra thing that is very important. The most important thing that you can do, the most efficient thing that you can do, is have some immersion. Hear the language. If you're trying to sound like a native, then you cannot invent the language, right? You're imitating somebody, if that's your goal. If you don't want to speak it however you want to speak it, or your normal native accent or of another language for another accent, that's fine. If you're trying to sound like a native, though, we are imitating someone or a group of people. So be sure to hear them so that all that information will stay on your subconscious. Remember, listening is the number one thing for any language. Yeah, there are people who cannot listen, and well, those people learn sign language. But yeah, for the ones that want to understand how it sounds, the meaning of the sounds, and for those who want to speak it and are able to do so, listening is the number one thing. Remember, listening, speaking, reading, writing, those are the forming skills in a language. Work on those. They all complement each other, but they all can be trained separately at the same time. So I think that will be it for today's video. If you have any more doubts, any more cool tips, any feedback, be sure to comment. Tell me if you want me to make any other videos. This is Teacher Steve. Peace out, everyone. Au revoir. A plus tard. Arrivederci. Benché mi hanno detto che gli italiani non dicono mai arrivederci. Hasta luego, banda. Hasta luego, meus amigos. I don't know. See you next time. Zaijian. Whatever.